It wasn't just a regular day at the airport, and it certainly wasn't a routine celebrity spotting. Onlookers froze, fans gasped, and speculation exploded across social media when two of BTS's most elusive members, Jungkook and Jimin, were caught on camera together in a quiet, low-profile corner of Incheon International Airport. No security entourage. No flashy outfits. No official statement from HYBE. Just the two of them, walking side by side, and that silence spoke louder than any press release ever could. What were they doing there? Why now? And most importantly, where are they going? With BTS's full military enlistment cycle finally wrapping up by June 2025, the sight of Jimin and Jungkook reuniting in public couldn't have come at a more curious time. Was it a personal trip? A secret project? A private meeting meant to be unseen, until someone's phone camera caught it all? Social media ignited in seconds. Hashtag Jungkook Airport and hashtag Breakaway Unit began trending before the footage even hit the mainstream press. The fanbase, divided, obsessed, and panicked, pushed theories that range from a surprise Festa collaboration to an independent unit forming behind HYBE's back. And with Festa 2025 looming just weeks away, promising to reunite all 7 members on stage for the first time since 2022, the timing is, at best, suspicious. Let's get this straight. HYBE said nothing. Not a tweet, not a note, not even a blurry photo caption. And for BTS, a group known for their meticulous media control, that silence is louder than a megaphone. Normally, such high-profile sightings come with a neat little explanation. A behind-the-scenes vlog. A vague Instagram caption. A Weverse drop. But this time, nothing.
Zero. Zilch.
Fans are calling it a digital blackout. And in an era where every idol sneeze is tracked and translated within minutes, the absence of official commentary isn't just strange, it's a flashing red light. One anonymous insider allegedly claimed they were told not to say anything, not even to the staff. Only the top-level team knows what's happening. Whether that's true or a fan fantasy gone viral, it's doing the job. Curiosity is boiling over. Why does this feel so carefully orchestrated? June is more than just the start of summer. It's BTS's birth month. The band formed in June 2013, and every year since, the group has honored their anniversary with a massive fan celebration known as Festa. This year's theme? 12 o'clock, a direct reference to their hauntingly emotional track, Midnight, about healing, starting over, and the passage of time. Now imagine this. BTS returns from military life.
Festa 2025 arrives.
Jin and J-Hope, already discharged, are leading the event. And suddenly, Jungkook and Jimin, two of the most expressive, emotionally driven members, are spotted together, but not with the others. It doesn't take a conspiracy theorist to ask, are they planning something separate? While Jimin was dressed in a simple, oversized hoodie and black cap pulled low, Jungkook made a quieter but equally impactful statement by showing up in Calvin Klein gear again. Let's not forget, Jungkook is not just a singer anymore. He's a global fashion icon, having headlined Calvin Klein's spring campaign and taken over every major digital billboard from Times Square to Tokyo. And when someone that influential wears a brand to an unofficial airport meetup, it isn't just what he had on that day. Was it a signal? A subtle teaser? A hint that their next move might be outside the music box? Could we be looking at the early days of a BTS X fashion hybrid unit? Or is this the beginning of Jungkook's personal empire and Jimin is coming along for the ride? The elephant in the room. Is BTS about to become a collection of solo stars with only the occasional group reunion? Jin, the eldest, is already eyeing acting gigs and high-level variety show appearances. J-Hope's artistry has evolved into experimental choreography and underground projects. RM's solo album redefined his poetic range. Suga is a producer for half the K-industry. V is entering the fashion circuit like a runway veteran. And Jungkook and Jimin, arguably the most emotionally driven performers, are now being seen outside the pack. Could the 7 finally be heading in permanent individual directions? Could Festa 2025 be less a celebration And more a send-off? If this was just a meet-up between friends, why all the secrecy?
Why now?
Why like this? In PR, silence can be golden, but in the entertainment world, it's often deadly. HYBE's decision to stay quiet only adds fuel to the fanfire. And as hashtags explode, threads unravel, and theories spiral, one thing is certain. BTS's next move has never been more unpredictable. The airport footage has already been dissected, zoomed, slowed down, voice-boosted, color-graded, and memified. It's not just content, it's evidence. ARMY has become detectives, and the case is wide open. Their steps were calm, almost too calm. There was no fanfare, no announcement, no blazing camera lights. Just two of BTS's brightest stars walking through one of the busiest airports in Asia like they were trying not to be seen. And yet, they were. Jungkook and Jimin had been spotted. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a coincidence. It was something else. Something planned, or perhaps something so deeply personal that the silence surrounding it screamed louder than any headline ever could. As the footage ricocheted across social media, questions outpaced facts. Why weren't they with the other members? Was this connected to Festa 2025? Could this be the start of a long-whispered subunit, or the spark of something far more disruptive, a breakaway? For years, BTS had been an immovable force, not just in music, but in global pop culture. Each member had developed his own identity, yet they moved as one. That unity, that OT7 strength had been their brand. But now, as the military chapter of their careers neared its conclusion, it seemed like something was shifting. The timing of this sighting couldn't be dismissed as mere coincidence. The final two to be discharged, Jungkook and Jimin, emerging together at the airport just weeks before BTS's first full reunion in over 2 years? That's not random. That's strategic. Or dangerous. And it wasn't just about where they were going. It was about what they weren't saying. In an era where even the most mundane idol movements are polished and pre-packaged for consumption, this was raw. This was unfiltered. This was off-script. HYBE didn't rush in with a statement. There was no Weverse update, no polished video explaining it away as personal schedule. The silence that followed that blurry footage was deafening, and fans picked up on it immediately. Some armies felt the chill in the air. Not everyone was cheering. Some were worried. Some were angry. Others felt betrayed. And then there were those who felt the adrenaline, those who believed, knew, that something massive was coming. Something that could redefine what BTS is. Not just a comeback, not just Festa, but a recalibration of the group dynamic as we know it. Jungkook's presence was loud without a word. His outfit, a clean, effortless Calvin Klein set, wasn't just stylish, it was symbolic. He's more than an idol now. He's a global ambassador, a fashion icon, a solo force. And Jimin, with his quiet but intense aura, has always been the emotional center of BTS. Together, they're combustible. Together, they're unpredictable. And that unpredictability is what's now lighting fires of speculation from Seoul to Sao Paulo. Some theories suggest that Jungkook and Jimin are prepping a surprise performance for Festa, perhaps to open or close the event with a bang. Others whisper about a possible joint album, a digital drop that would shake the industry before it even has time to react. But darker rumors also swirl, one suggesting that perhaps the duo feels ready to move in a different direction altogether. That the airport sighting was not about unity, but about separation, about independence, about evolution. Could this really be the beginning of a BTS without BTS? Could the 12 o'clock metaphor of the Festa themes signal more than a new day, perhaps the end of an old one? There's something sacred about the way BTS has always returned to each other, always circled back, always reminded the world that no matter the solo projects, no matter the external noise, they were seven. But what happens when that circle starts to open? When members begin making moves on their own, not just professionally, but symbolically? This is the question haunting fans now. Every freeze frame of that airport video is being analyzed with forensic precision. The way Jimin's head tilts toward Jungkook. The way Jungkook walks one step ahead. The luggage they carry. The way they avoid the cameras but not entirely. These aren't just actions. They're clues. What's even more intriguing is the timing of their discharge. If Jungkook and Jimin are the last to finish service, they are also the last to experience the solitude, the distance, the transformation that military life demands. Their perspectives have changed. So has their identity, not just as soldiers returning home, but as artists stepping into a vastly different industry than the one they left. The K-pop landscape has moved forward. The solo scene has exploded. And BTS as a collective is no longer the only name in town. The hunger for their reunion is immense, but so is the pressure. And maybe, just maybe, Jungkook and Jimin aren't here to reunite. Maybe they're here to recreate. Imagine the narrative shift. Instead of 7 members returning to the spotlight as one seamless entity, we see alliances, new formations, duos, trios, creative experiments that both honor and challenge the BTS legacy. It's not betrayal. It's evolution. And maybe, just maybe, that airport walk wasn't the start of a subunit. It was the first step into a post-BTS world. The music industry is watching. The fans are waiting. And HYBE, by remaining silent, has given them room to dream or to panic. Either way, attention has been seized. Eyes are locked in. Hearts are pounding. And the world is no longer asking if BTS is coming back. They're asking how and in what form. Because no matter where Jungkook and Jimin were going that day, it's clear they're already miles ahead of us. And whatever it is they're planning, whatever secret that airport sighting exposed, it's coming fast and it's going to change everything. And so we wait. Not just for Festa. Not just for answers. But for the moment the silence breaks and the truth steps into the spotlight. Will it be reunion? Revolution? Or revelation? 12 o'clock is approaching, and BTS has never been this unpredictable. And as the countdown to Festa 2025 ticks louder, the air grows thicker with speculation, excitement, and a dash of fear. It's no longer just about celebration. It's about answers. About whether the image the world has held onto of 7 brothers, forever in sync, still holds up after years of silence, distance, and individual growth. For many fans, this airport sighting shattered a still frame. For so long, BTS had been frozen in collective memory as one unit, waiting to be unpaused when the last member returned. But now the illusion of that freeze has cracked. Reality is in motion again. Jungkook and Jimin didn't wait for the press. They didn't wait for an event. They didn't wait for the rest. They moved. And that movement speaks volumes. It's not just their walk through the terminal that has captivated attention, it's the symbolism of it. Because what if the reunion fans were dreaming of doesn't come in the way they expect? What if BTS's next chapter isn't a seamless return to the past, but a bold dive into something new, something fragmented, something fluid, something less about unity and more about individuality? Look at the landscape around them. K-pop has shifted. The global music scene has cracked open, and each BTS member now commands attention on his own. Jungkook's solo stardom is undeniable. His voice, his charisma, his style, his reach. His presence is no longer confined to the group. He's become a movement. And Jimin? Jimin remains the soul, the heartbeat, the raw vulnerability that binds the fandom emotionally. His artistry, his elegance, his sheer unpredictability, all of it commands attention beyond the group frame. The two of them together? It's lightning in a bottle. And now that bottle has cracked open at the airport, spilling questions that no one, not even HYBE, has answered. And yet there's another theory. One that is less controversial, but no less electrifying. What if this sighting was a test? A calculated pulse check? What happens when you release the tiniest drop of Jungkook into the public? Do fans celebrate? Do they panic? Does the world take notice?
It did. It's still talking about it.
Maybe this was always the plan. Maybe the mystery is the message. Maybe Jungkook and Jimin are about to show the world what two halves of a legend can do when they're let loose on their own stage. Imagine the chaos of a surprise digital single, 2 voices colliding in a late-night drop.
No promo. No teaser.
Just vibes, visuals, and raw emotion.
Immagine a mini-documentary.
A secret trip that turns into a filmed confession. A new kind of content, blurring the lines between art and intimacy, past and present, BTS and what comes next. And imagine the heartbreak if it's not a duo project at all, if this was simply a farewell. A symbolic gesture between two friends who've seen the top of the mountain and now stand ready to explore valleys of their own. There's something terrifying about watching your heroes grow up. But there's something beautiful, too. Because maybe this isn't the end. Maybe it's the first honest chapter. A chapter where 7 men, no longer boys bound by contract, begin to explore what freedom really means. Freedom to create. Freedom to break away. Freedom to walk through an airport and not explain themselves to the world. Maybe we were never meant to have all the answers. Maybe we were only meant to feel the shift and brace for what it brings. The countdown continues. The footage remains unconfirmed. The silence remains unbroken. But the story? The story has already begun. And wherever Jungkook and Jimin went that day, whether to a studio, a stage, a sanctuary, or a future we can't yet imagine, they went together. And the world followed. Somewhere between the silent terminal and the roaring internet frenzy, a line was crossed, a line that separates routine idol sightings from monumental cultural moments. The kind of moment that doesn't need an official statement because it becomes one. That airport footage of Jungkook and Jimin wasn't a leak.